6 months after he retired, his wife found him sitting in the garage at 6 in the morning, engine off, just sitting in the driver's seat, staring at the dashboard. She asked him what he was doing. He said, "I don't know. I don't know where to go." 40 years of waking up at 5:30. 40 years of the same commute, the same badge, the same parking spot. His body still got him up, still put on the pants, still walked him to the car. But there was nowhere to drive. And that was the morning she realized the man she married wasn't retired. He was lost. I know this man. He's 66 years old, retired from the manufacturing company after 38 years. Good pension. Solid 401k. House paid off. The money was fine, you know. The money was never the problem. The problem was that nobody, not his advisor, not his company, not a single retirement article he ever read, told him what would actually happen to him when the job stopped. They told him how much he needed. They told him about Social Security, timing, and withdrawal rates, and Medicare enrollment. They planned for everything except the one thing that almost broke him. They never planned for who he would be without the work. That's what this video is about. Not how much money you need, not when to claim benefits. The truth about what retirement actually does to men, and why the industry that sold you on the finish line never warned you about what's waiting on the other side of it. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things that happen to men in retirement that nobody prepares you for. I'm going to show you why the financial plan isn't enough, and why some of the most financially prepared guys in the country are the ones falling apart the hardest. And I'm going to give you what I gave the man in the garage, a framework for building something on the other side that actually works. But stay all the way through, because the last section is the one his wife told me saved their marriage. Hit subscribe if you want the truth, not the brochure. I don't do fantasy retirement on this channel. I do what's real. So here's what nobody tells you, right? Retirement is sold as the reward, the finish line. 30, 40 years of grinding, and then freedom. That's the word they use. Freedom. Every commercial shows a couple on a beach or a sailboat or a golf course, smiling, relaxed. Like the day you stop working is the day your life finally begins. But for a lot of men, the opposite happens. The day you stop working is the day you stop knowing who you are. Because here's what nobody says out loud. For most men, the job wasn't just a paycheck. It was an identity. It was a title. It was a reason to get up, a place to be needed, a way to measure yourself. You were the engineer, the foreman, a branch manager, the project lead. For 40 years, people knew your name because of what you did. And then one Friday, they hand you a card and a sheet cake. And on Monday morning, you're a man with no title, no schedule, no team, and no idea what to do before breakfast. Research backs this up, you see. About 30% of retired men experience symptoms of depression within the first year. 30%. 1 out of every 3 guys walking out of that office for the last time is going to be dealing with depression within 12 months. And a broader analysis across multiple studies found that roughly 28% of all retirees deal with clinical-level depression. These aren't men who ran out of money. The 401k is fine. The Social Security is coming in. The house is paid off. The spreadsheet looks perfect, and they're sitting in a dark room at 2 in the afternoon wondering why they feel like this. Because nobody ran a projection on their mental health. Nobody stress-tested their identity. The calculator checked the portfolio. Nobody checked the man. The man in the garage, I talked to him about 8 months after his wife found him sitting in that car. We were at his kitchen table. Coffee getting cold. His wife was in the other room. And he told me something I'll never forget. He said the worst part isn't having nothing to do. The worst part is that nobody needs me for anything anymore. 40 years of people calling my name and asking me to solve things. 40 years of walking into a room and mattering. Now the phone doesn't ring. The email doesn't ping. And I didn't realize how much of me was built on that phone ringing until it stopped. And if you thought the identity piece was bad, wait until you hear what it does to the one relationship you thought was bulletproof. Here's the second thing, right? And this one wrecks more retirements than any stock market crash ever will. Your marriage changes, and not the way you expected. When you're working, your marriage runs on a certain rhythm. You leave in the morning, she has her life, her friends, her routine, her space. You come home at night, you've got things to talk about. There's a natural distance that gives the relationship room to breathe. Then you retire, and suddenly you're home all day, every day, in her space, asking what's for lunch. And she's looking at you thinking, I love this man, but I did not sign up for a roommate. The divorce rate among adults over 50 has been climbing for years. Researchers call it gray divorce, and one of the biggest triggers, retirement. Not infidelity, not money fights, not some midlife crisis sports car. The sheer proximity of two people who haven't spent this much time together since they were 25, and one of them is going through something he won't talk about because, men don't talk about it. The man in the garage told me about 4 months into retirement, his wife sat him down one night after dinner and said, I need you to find something to do. Not mean, not angry, just tired. And it hurt him. He took it as rejection. Like she didn't want him around. Like 38 years of marriage and she couldn't stand being in the same house with him. But that wasn't it at all, right? She told me later, and she was sitting right there when she said this. She said, I watched the sharpest man I know become a ghost. You stopped talking. You smacked at the grandkids for no reason. You sat in front of that television for 6-7 hours a day with the same blank look on your face. She said, I didn't lose you to retirement. I lost you to whatever retirement turned you into, and I didn't know how to get you back. And he told me, she was right, you see, every word. I just couldn't hear it at the time because I didn't think retirement was something that could do anything to me. I thought it was a reward. I thought I earned it. I didn't realize it could take things away faster than it gave them. Third thing, and this one is backed by serious medical data, your body starts going sideways, and it happens faster than you think. When you're working, you have structure whether you want it or not. You wake up at a set time. You move. You walk to the car, walk through the parking lot, walk to the office, walk to meetings, walk to the cafeteria. You eat at certain times because there's a schedule. Your brain is solving problems all day, logistics, deadlines, people. There's rhythm holding the whole thing together. Take away that rhythm and things start sliding, right? Not all at once, but steadily. Studies show that after retirement, physical activity drops significantly. Alcohol consumption goes up, and for men in particular, the afternoon drink becomes the afternoon drinks. Sleep patterns get wrecked because there's no reason to be up and no reason to be in bed. Diet deteriorates because the structure that kept meals at regular times disappears, and suddenly you're eating cereal at 2 in the afternoon. And all of those things, are linked to increased rates of depression, accelerated cognitive decline, and cardiovascular problems. You're not just losing a job. You're losing the invisible scaffolding that was holding your physical and mental health together without you even realizing it was there. The man in the garage gained 14 pounds in the first year, wasn't sleeping more than 4 or 5 hours a night, started having a drink or two in the afternoon, then 3, because he had nothing else to mark the transition from one part of the day to another. His blood pressure went up. His doctor told him something that stopped him cold. He said, your body thinks something is wrong because your life has no structure. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between relaxation and deterioration. It just knows the pattern broke. And it's responding to a broken pattern the same way it responds to a threat. But if the health stuff surprised you, the next one is the thing that sneaks up on men harder than anything else. Fourth, and this is the one that sneaks up on every man, your friends disappear. Not because they stop liking you, not because anything happened. Because the truth is, Most of your friends were your coworkers. And you didn't realize that until the day you stopped showing up. Men are terrible at building friendships outside of work. And I say that with love because I'm a man and I've done the same thing. You know, we bond over shared projects, shared problems, the annoying client, the guy in accounting who microwaves fish. We call these people our buddies, but the friendship lives inside the building. It doesn't have legs. You retire and within 6 months, you realize you haven't heard from anyone except maybe one fella who texted you happy birthday. The rest just disappeared. Not out of cruelty, out of routine. They're still in the building, you're not. Social isolation after retirement is one of the strongest predictors of depression and cognitive decline in men. Stronger than financial stress, right? Stronger than chronic health problems. Loneliness rewires your brain chemistry. It raises inflammation markers. It spikes cortisol, your stress hormone. It's linked to increased risk of heart disease, dementia, and early death. This isn't motivational speaker talk. This is peer-reviewed medical data. Loneliness will kill you. And retirement hands it to men on a silver platter because the one place where they had daily human connection just closed its doors. The man in the garage said to me, "I used to eat lunch with the same 4 fellas every single day for 20 years. 20 years. Same table. Same conversation about whose team was worse. I haven't talked to any of them in 8 months. And I don't even know what I'd say if I picked up the phone. What am I going to tell them? That I sat in my garage at 6 in the morning because I forgot how to start a day? Drop a comment if that hits you, because I know a lot of men watching this either went through it or are watching it happen to someone they care about. And nobody talks about this part. The brochure doesn't mention it. The advisor doesn't ask about it. The system just assumes that the money is all you need, and the money is never all you need. Fifth, and here's where the financial industry really failed you. They sold you a number when they should have sold you a plan for your life. Every retirement plan in America is built around the same question. Do you have enough money? The advisor runs projections. The calculator says you need 1.2 million or 1.8 million or 2.5 million. You hit the number. They shake your hand. You walk out the door. And on the other side of that door is a life that nobody helped you design, you see. Nobody asked what you do with 16 hours a day. Nobody asked how your marriage would handle the transition. Nobody asked if you had relationships outside of work. Nobody asked if your identity could survive without a title. They just made sure the 401k was big enough and called it done. And here's why, you know? Because there's no fee attached to life planning. Your advisor gets paid on assets under management, 1% of your portfolio. Whether you're thriving or sitting in a garage at 6 in the morning, their fee doesn't change. The incentive is to grow the number, not grow the man. I'm not blaming anybody personally, but the system is built to optimize a balance sheet, not a human life. And a lot of good men are paying the price for that blind spot. So what actually works? Because something does, and it's what I walked the man in the garage through over 3 kitchen table conversations. The same framework I'm about to give you right now. First, build structure before you retire, not after. I'm serious about this, you know. Not a vague idea about playing golf and catching up on reading. I'm talking about a real weekly schedule with committed activities that have other people counting on you. Volunteer shifts, part-time consulting, a woodworking class, a group that meets the same day every week. A project with an actual deadline. Your brain needs rhythm the way your lungs need air. Your body needs rhythm. Build the new scaffolding while the old one is still standing. Because once the old one comes down and you've got nothing to replace it, that's how you end up in a garage at 6 in the morning. Second, have the real conversation with your wife before you leave that job. Not the day of, not after, before. Sit down at the table and ask her what she's nervous about. Tell her what you're nervous about. Talk about space. Talk about routines. Talk about what the days are going to look like when you're both home, you know. The couples who survive retirement well are the ones who planned the relationship transition the same way they planned the 401k. And most couples don't do that because nobody tells them it's necessary. Nobody puts marriage stress test on the retirement checklist. Third, build friendships outside of work while you're still employed. This is non-negotiable, right? Join something, a bowling league, the fishing group, a poker night, a church men's group, a veterans organization. Anything with other men your age that has absolutely nothing to do with your job title. Because those work friendships, as real as they feel sitting in the break room, will dissolve within a year of your last day. You need something that travels with you. Fourth, redefine what purpose means. You don't need a corner office to have purpose, but you need to matter to somebody, you see. You need a reason to be somewhere. Mentoring young men, coaching a youth baseball team, serving on a local nonprofit board, helping your son figure out his business, teaching a skill at the community center. The specifics matter less than the feeling that somebody, somewhere is genuinely better off because you showed up today. Fifth, stop white-knuckling the money. If you planned well and the numbers work, use some of it. Take the trip. Fix up the house. Take your wife out for dinner on a random Wednesday night just because you can. The man in the garage had 800 grand in his 401k and a pension kicking out 36,000 bucks a year, and he was rationing everything like the money was about to run out. The fear of going broke was piling on top of the depression and the isolation and the identity loss and crushing him under all of it at once. Once he gave himself permission to live on the money he spent 40 years saving, not recklessly, not extravagantly, just enough to actually feel like a human being who deserved a good meal, something shifted. He told me that was the first time in months he felt like a person instead of a problem. The man in the garage, his name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened after that morning in the car. His wife made him see a doctor. He started walking 3 miles every morning, joined a woodworking group at the community center on Tuesdays and Thursdays, started mentoring at a local high school shop class 2 afternoons a week, called one of the guys from work and they started meeting for breakfast every other Friday. I sat with him about a month ago, same kitchen table, same coffee, but a different man across from me, and he said something that stuck with me like glue. He said, "You know what saved me? It wasn't the pension. It wasn't the 401k. It wasn't the Social Security check. It was having a reason to put my shoes on in the morning. That's all I needed. You know, a reason to get dressed and walk out the front door and be somewhere that somebody expected me to show up. Nobody told me I'd have to build that myself. Nobody even hinted that it was something I'd need." His wife came in while we were talking, poured herself a cup of coffee, looked at him for a second, then looked at me, and she said 2 words. She said, "He's back. That's it. He's back." Then she smiled and walked out of the room. And I'm not going to lie to you, that hit me harder than any number on any statement I've ever looked at. That's the truth about retirement for men, you know. The money matters. I'll never stand here and tell you it doesn't, but the money is the foundation. It's not the house. The house is what you build on top of it, the structure, the purpose, the relationships, the reason to walk out the front door. The financial system planned your portfolio down to the penny. Nobody planned for you. And you deserve more than a spreadsheet and a farewell cake, right? You deserve a plan for the life that comes after the last paycheck, because that life can be the best years you've ever had or the loneliest, emptiest years you'll ever know. And the difference isn't money. The difference is whether someone told you the truth before you got there. Drop a comment. Are you retired and struggling with this? Or are you approaching retirement and scared about more than just money? I want to hear it, because this conversation needs to happen and it's not happening anywhere near enough. And if you know a man who's going through this right now, Send him this video. He probably won't ask for help, but he might watch it. Hit subscribe. This channel isn't just about money. It's about the life the money is supposed to fund. And that life doesn't build itself. See you in the next one.